The story of the British Empire is one of immense power, ambition, conflict, and transformation. It began as a small island nation, but eventually expanded to become the largest empire in history. At its peak, the British Empire ruled over nearly a quarter of the world's population and land. But how did it rise to such dominance, and what is the legacy it left behind? The origins of the British Empire can be traced back to the late 15th and early 16th centuries, during the Age of Exploration. England, like many European powers, sought new trade routes and overseas wealth. Early British explorers sailed to distant lands, inspired by stories of gold, spices, and riches. The English began establishing colonies, first in the Americas and later across the world. One of the key forces behind British expansion was the East India Company. Founded in 1600, this private company began as a commercial venture to trade spices and silk, but grew into a powerful political and military force. It played a central role in Britain's dominance in India and Southeast Asia. Through military conquest, alliances, and control of local rulers, the company carved out a vast empire in India, which later became the British Raj. As the centuries passed, the British Empire expanded across continents. In the Caribbean, they established sugar plantations, relying heavily on enslaved African labor. In North America, they founded colonies like Virginia, Massachusetts, and Canada. In Australia and New Zealand, they established settler colonies, often displacing or marginalizing native populations. In Africa, they gained vast territories after the Berlin Conference of 1884–85 divided the continent. Among European powers, by the 19th century, Britain had become the world's foremost global power. It had the largest navy, a booming industrial economy, and a global network of colonies. The Industrial Revolution, which began in Britain, gave it a huge economic advantage. British factories needed raw materials, and the empire provided cotton, rubber, coal, and tea. In return, Britain sold its manufactured goods across the world. British control wasn't just about military or economics, it was also cultural. The English language spread widely, becoming a global lingua franca. British-style education systems were introduced in many colonies. The legal system of common law took root in places like India, Canada, and Australia. Even sports like cricket, rugby, and football became part of daily life in many former colonies. However, the empire was not built without resistance. Local people in many regions pushed back against British control. The American colonies declared independence in 1776, leading to the creation of the United States. In India, uprisings like the 1857 rebellion revealed growing discontent. In Africa, resistance movements challenged colonial rule, from the Zulu kingdom to the Momo uprising in Kenya. The British Empire's dominance was enforced through military strength and naval supremacy. The Royal Navy ensured control of sea routes and protected trade. Britain's position as a naval power allowed it to control strategic locations like Gibraltar, the Suez Canal, and Singapore. These points were vital for moving troops, goods, and information around the globe. Religion also played a role in empire building. Missionaries spread Christianity throughout the empire, often accompanying or following British expansion. In many places, this led to the destruction of traditional beliefs and the rise of Western religious practices. Some welcomed this change, but others saw it as a tool of cultural domination. Throughout the 19th century, the British Empire became known as the empire on which the sun never sets. Its global reach was unmatched. Yet behind this success were many darker aspects. Indigenous peoples often suffered under British rule. Lands were taken, cultures suppressed, and populations displaced. In some cases, like in Tasmania and parts of North America, native populations were nearly wiped out. Slavery played a major role in the empire's early economy. The transatlantic slave trade, in which Britain was a key player, forcibly moved millions of Africans to the Americas. Even after slavery was abolished in 1833, the legacy of racial inequality and economic exploitation remained in many colonies. The 20th century brought new challenges for the empire. After World War I, the costs of maintaining global control grew heavier. Nationalist movements gained momentum in India, Ireland, and the Middle East. World War II further weakened Britain, economically and militarily. After the war, the process of decolonization began. India gained independence in 1947, followed by Pakistan. This marked the beginning of the end for the British Empire. In the following decades, more than 50 countries gained their independence. Many of these countries joined the Commonwealth, a voluntary association of former British colonies that maintained cultural and political ties with the UK. Even after decolonization, the legacy of the British Empire remains. English is widely spoken, and British institutions like parliamentary democracy and legal systems continue to influence many nations. Former colonies often retain British-style education systems and even sports traditions. However, not all of the legacy is positive. In some regions, colonial borders created lasting ethnic and political conflicts. In Africa, borders drawn by colonial powers ignored tribal and ethnic divisions, leading to internal strife. In the Middle East, British involvement in shaping post-Ottoman territories helped lay the foundation for long-standing conflicts. There are also ongoing debates about reparations and restitution. Many museums in Britain hold artifacts taken from colonies, such as the Benin bronzes or the Kohinoor diamond. Some argue these should be returned. Others point to the economic inequality that still exists between former colonies and the UK as a result of imperialism. The legacy of the British Empire also lives on in public memory. Statues of colonial figures have come under scrutiny. Some view people like Cecil Rhodes or Winston Churchill as heroes, while others see them as symbols of oppression. This has led to debates over how history should be remembered and taught. In recent years, there's been a growing effort to reckon with the darker sides of empire. Schools, universities, and public institutions have begun re-examining their ties to colonialism. More diverse perspectives are being included in history education, helping people understand the full impact of empire. Despite its fall, the British Empire shaped the modern world in countless ways. It connected distant lands, cultures, and economies. It spread technologies, languages, and ideas. But it also brought suffering, exploitation, and deep social change. The full story of the empire is complex, filled with both achievement and injustice. The Commonwealth remains one of the lasting symbols of Britain's global legacy. Comprising over 50 nations, it promotes cooperation in areas like education, development, and diplomacy. While it no longer holds political power, it reflects shared histories and connections. Today, the UK still grapples with its imperial past. Some take pride in the empire's global influence and accomplishments. Others focus on the injustices committed in its name. Understanding the empire's history helps us better understand today's world and the relationships between nations, cultures, and peoples shaped by centuries of British rule. The British Empire's story is not just about power, it's about people. From the rulers in London to the farmers in India, from sailors in the Caribbean to students in African schools, millions were touched by its reach. As we look back, we see a global web of human experiences, some proud, some painful, but all part of our shared history. As we close this journey through the British Empire's rise, rule, and legacy, we are left with questions. What should we celebrate? What must we confront? And how can we learn from the past to build a more just and understanding future?